Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Jim Markwalder with PROSTEP, and I'd like to do a replay of a presentation I gave at this year's co-experience. We covered scalable PLM integration at one of our DoD contractors, a top 5, titled All Systems Go. We'll cover today is solutions to integrate with 3D experience, how PROSTEP's expertise helped out. We'll go over a couple of business use cases and the objectives and drivers, and we'll talk a little bit about the technology. First, a little bit about PROSTEP. We've been around for over 25 years. We were founded in Europe initially by automotive companies. You can see some of them below, and they continue to be shareholders in our corporate parent, PROSTEP AG. And of course, then I'm from PROSTEP North America, PROSTEP Inc. We have about 250, 300 consultants altogether globally, way more than 500 customers now. We have integration products, collaboration products, configuration management products, and most important thing to understand is we're vendor neutral, so we don't resell any of our PLM customer software. We just help integrate it. We have a long and deep partnership with Dassault Systems, been going on for many, many years. We were a development service provider, CATIA V5 adopter, a Novia partner, and part of the 3DX B6 community as a partner. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, I want to talk a little bit why integration is important. And in a heterogeneous engineering environment, which is what almost all of us find when you're dealing with any kind of digital engineering, we find that nobody uses the same tools. And there's two kind of thoughts. One is, well, maybe we should integrate them. Maybe we should dictate what everybody should use. And that's kind of like dictating a particular language. Well, it's been said that craftsmen thrive when they wield their chosen tools and an ecosystem produces the best quality of output when you do seamless integration and not dictation. And so that's why PROSTEP has a role in today's market, is we are very good at letting people use the tools that they are used to working with and being able to integrate those with the ecosystem as a whole. In this particular case, you'll see that we're talking about 3D experience with OpenPDM. And if you look across the bottom there, you'll see that we enable all kinds of communication with all kinds of PLM partners, external systems, SAP, and we are specialists with integration, migration, federation, which means just not moving the data, but having access to it, and collaboration, which we find in the supply chain. In this particular case, the project we're going to talk about was Windchill, back and forth to 3DX. The business requirements were, let's integrate 3DX with Windchill to sync engineering data, including CAD representations of the bill of materials. That's where we started. Phase 2 was 3DX to Windchill design synchronization, so that requirements changed to non-native CAD representation in Windchill. And then we added a use case halfway down the project, Windchill step export to a Prezo. And that happens many times when you start a project that extends over time. So our solution involved OpenPDM 9, which is the current version, 9X, with the XPDM adapter to export the BOM and step data from 3DX experience. And we provided alternate mapping of the CAD BOM in 3DX to NBOM in Windchill in progress with requirements change. The Windchill connector can be used with non-native files, step files as secondary, And we employed an event listener to keep track of what was going on when requirements changed so that we could sync back and forth. And one of the things people always ask us, well, what versions of software were we using? Well, here's the chart. And since I'm doing a recording, I'll read it. Batch management was V5 and V6. We were looking at version 2021X. The Windchill is version 12.2.1. CATIA, we had Service Pack 3 and Build 31. For all the OpenPDM stuff is 9.4. For the OpenPDM base process servers, 9.41. And for CATIA V5 CAD, it was R2021X. So the project extended over a period of 3 years. We began in 2021 with a proof of concept showing, yes, we can actually go from 3DX to Windchill and Windchill to 3DX, and we completed that proof of concept in December. Phase 2, we had a requirements change and did a non-native CAD representation of Windchill, and an alternate mapping and solution for the use case was finalized in July. And in 2023, phase 2A, we completed 2 use cases all the way through UAT. They were the first two I mentioned earlier. We had two-way integration, 3DX to Windchill and Windchill to 3DX. We added use case 5, Windchill step export to network share locations, and then that was for a preso. And then we went to production in use case 1 and use case 2. So one of the things we wanted to talk about with regard to scalability, which, as you recall at the beginning, was this company wanted a scalable implementation, is we removed the implementation of the ADP 3D experience to MFC and removed the implementation to MSV export for simulation analysis. And we added use case 1 of 3DX to Windchill. And we added implementation of the Creo export and implementation of scheduled and ad hoc data flows from Windchill to TIDCO were all done after the project was started and done with our base operation. So we didn't have to do any new import or installation. So, and this shows you why, is OpenPDM base acts as a neutral broker sitting there in the business in the center, and then surrounding it are connectors. Once we've installed OpenPDM process server, you're able to plug and unplug connectors or configure and add connectors as needed so that you can effectively synchronize across systems. OpenPDM uses its own internal business data object format, the very simplest one. And we use that same interface with all our connectors, and all of our connectors as a result of our license agreements with all of these providers utilize their APIs. And so we stay in tune with the nature and version of various APIs, whether it's Dassault or somebody else. And you'll notice on the left, we also have some basic interfaces which tend to be useful for all things: an OSLC provider, XML, web services, STEP AP 242, etc. So what did we find in this particular project that was challenging? One was schedule stretch. We began with, uh, uh, as you remember, the first milestone of POC, and the initial project was envisioned to take place over the course of a year, maybe 14 months. But due to changes at our customer, we had to continually maintain personnel continuity, uh, and on their side and ours. And so it becomes challenging every time I change anybody over time. I want to make sure I don't lose any information. And then changing use case priorities, the line of business priorities and funding allocations, the longer you go over time, many times, priorities change. customers change, our customers change, their fundings change, management changes. Uh, the next one is a really big one, SSO, Cyber Environment Evolution. Uh, as most of you are aware, in today's environment, cybersecurity is continues to be an important portion and growing in importance of anti-integration activity. As soon as I go from one system to another inside of a company, if I go from domain to domain, or even begin with collaboration external, you'll find that single sign-on and credentialing are critical elements, and they are not simple. So in any integration, it's important to understand the tools and systems being used at the beginning. In particular, I should note that the way OpenPDM works with our connectors is our connectors honor the API credentialing requirements of the target systems. So if you're talking about 3DX, if the API requires single sign-on for credentialing, then that's how we do it. We do not, in and of ourselves, have a single sign-on requirement. We use KeyCloak internally, which integrates, it's open source and integrates with most IDP providers, as well as Microsoft's ADFS. And then finally, we find as a project goes over time that core systems undergo upgrades. And so one of the big challenges is we were in the process of 3DX was being upgraded, and the VDIs we were using, due to a variety of considerations, we had some challenges with version control on the VDI. So as they move from one to another. And so anyway, infrastructure was not static. So upgrades, fixes, increases, and decreases in environment availability become schedule problems. So success factors, what made the project successful? Strong and approachable project management who was also the POC, point of contact for line of business, and an IT resource. So that single person became an integration person or integration point for the entire project, and was a key to success point. He could have been a she, but in this case it was a he, was a constant from the beginning to end. Then I thank him for it. Mutual trust on the project team. We worked early on to make sure people had names and faces and were part of a team, as opposed to us pitching a solution. It was the client and PROSTEP working together. And importantly, most companies right now have a high degree of remote capability or remote participation. We at PROSTEP are 100% remote. And so it's always important to establish the human factor at the beginning of a project so that we're not solving problems with short texts and emails. We're actually solving them as human beings. Mutual trust. Business process and use case alignment. A lot of times there are many challenges with regard to the line of business use cases or business process and the use cases developed by the project not being aligned. In this case, because of the PM and his role on both sides, we had good alignment. And that's a critical success item in any integration, is that the business processes are defined going in. If they're evolved over time, you'll probably have some redo in a slower project. Technical competence. We were fortunate and continue to be that there are no laggards, or at least if they were, they did not last long. Everybody knew their business on the client side and our side. And I was pleased to be part of that team, although I was probably the least technically competent of all of them. So continuous success factors. Two, big one, 3DX Experience is a platform that's designed for integration from the get-go. So it serves as a unified platform, so we're not trying to integrate inside of it. I have one major API I can use, It's friendly to getting data in and out, and uh, integration spans the various phases and aspects of product development. So it's a platform from beginning to end, and it's the one place you go. So it creates a cohesive environment for seamless interactions across the different functions and disciplines. So uh, uh, when it comes to integrating, uh, we never had an opportunity to have to look for the information. We simply had to work to make sure we could configure it properly and move it properly. And that's what PROSTEP is very, very good at. We enhanced the ability of that platform to work with others because most of our solutions can be automated once instantiated and defined. We connects internal systems and can extend that to include customer systems. Uh, so we are at our core about efficiency and enhancing the engineering process. Uh, so that means data flows need to be integrated with processes, and we ensure seamless and efficient transition from design all the way through production. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me uh, at PROSTEP. My phone number is there directly on the slide, as well as my email. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly.